I'll just open by saying, obviously a big point of emphasis for us today coming to the game was defending the three-point line and taking care of the basketball, and I thought we did both at a pretty high level. We had a couple careless turnovers at the end, but could have easily been a game of single-digit turnovers today, which is obviously a stark contrast to what we saw just a week ago. So I guess the big point is our team's getting better. We still have a lot of things we need to work on and room to grow, but I'm really pleased with the progress that I'm seeing, not just individually but collectively as a group.
Was it shot making or shot creating that was so good about the 3-pointers tonight?
I think the ball moved really well. We've talked constantly about, Javon's our best shot creator, but what he does is he kind of gets the dominoes started, and then you got to understand when you're open, when the ball's on the way to you, or whether we have the defense off balance and you need to make the one more. So we've watched a lot of film on that. He kind of gets it started, and then the rest of the guys kind of feel their way through, whether it be cutting or running to the rim and catching lobs or spacing on the floor to get shots. So I thought the ball just found the open guy more often than not today, and our guys were locked in and ready to shoot.
You were raving about Brandon's ability to pass, I think, whenever he signed, but was that performance tonight, I think he had 6 assists. I think he had 3 in a row. Was that kind of what you expect from him?
I mean, again, expect would probably be a stretch, but I know he's capable of that. I've seen it enough to know he's comfortable with the ball in his hands on the perimeter, making reads, whether teams are double teaming him or not, or when we play our DHO game with him in the middle of the floor. And I think he's going to continue to get better in that area. Once he gets a feel for the speed of the coverages that change in a game. So I'm just pleased with the progress that I see him making. I see a kid that's getting more and more confident and comfortable with what he's doing out there. This thing moves really, really fast, but I still remember almost all of it. He didn't score his first college basketball game at all. And so there's a lot of kind of questioning of, man, how hard is this? And just, 6 weeks later, you've seen him look like a totally different player. And if we can continue to push him to continue to make those kind of strides, he'll give us a chance as we move forward in the league play.
Bryce hadn't really looked the same since the injury, but he was able to get going. And how important can that be for you guys moving forward?
And maybe the most critical part to the ceiling that we have as a team is having another veteran in our backcourt that can create, because he's another shot creator for us, probably second to Javon. And his experience, obviously, at this level surpasses Javon's by a long shot. He's played 2 seasons in the Big 12. And I just need him to get to a place where he knows how to pick his spots a little bit more consistently. I thought today he did a really good job of just taking what the defense gave him. Sometimes he gets to a place where it almost is like he preconceives what he wants to do, and that's where he gets himself in trouble. Thought he played a really good floor game today, and we'll try to build on that.
I think this is the second game in a row you guys have held a team to season-low scoring and season-low field goal percentage. Just where has your defense come, and is it just the young guys getting more comfortable? Kind of what's gone into that?
Yeah, I mean, and I probably was overly critical of our defense early. But what I know is it's hard to be good defensively when you're young, because you got to get them to buy into the sense of urgency that you have to defend on every possession. And they just don't understand that. They don't do it enough before you get them. But our defensive system is obviously really sound. I mean, we've been really good defensively for 6 years. And sometimes, talking top 5-ish. So I think as you get guys more comfortable with it, and we really don't relent on that. Obviously, from game to game, you may scheme a guy differently because of what he can do to impact how you play defense. But I do think there's a level of comfort that these guys are getting with the terminology, with the coverages, and then with the changes, because they're not drastic changes. It may be how we're going to defend the pick and roll. It may be how we're going to defend in the post. It may be the level of urgency in terms of sprinting back defensively, but it looks different versus ORU versus Creighton. You don't have to run back to the basket. You got to run back and find shooters. And just hearing that over and over, sometimes guys get confused when they haven't done it. But as you get in the game 9, 10, and we haven't changed, it's been consistent, they start to figure it out a little bit.
Like, you guys have had some trouble with scoring droughts at inopportune times in games. That didn't seem to be the case at all tonight. is it fair to say maybe this is one of your more consistent offensive performances?
Yeah, and again, I think this is a better offensive team skill-wise. We have, I think, multiple guys that I would feel comfortable saying they could hit 3 or 4 on any given night from 3. And today we had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys hit more than 1 3, and the 2 other guys who shot a 3 didn't miss. And John Michael and Isaiah. So there's a lot to still work on offensively to become more potent. Some of it is pace. Some of it is getting guys to play through fatigue, that 4th or 5th minute that they're out there still running offense with crisp cuts, with sharp passing, with great screening. It's still a learned process, but I feel really good about what we can become over time offensively because of the skill. And I'm pleased with where we are going defensively. And again, not the ideal start, but I feel good that this team is making the progress we need to make as we get closer to the turn of the calendar year, which is always important for us.
Yeah. He was up there and he talked about his goal is becoming more consistent this offseason. How have you seen him kind of improve in that, in achieving that?
So a lot of times, from my opinion, young guys try to do too much. They think they have to be everything. They think they have to be the scorer, the rebounder, the playmaker. And really, early on in your career, the more you can become really good at something, the more value you can truly add to your team. And I think Q was played with a lot of confusion last year, which is fairly typical. And he played on a pretty experienced team last year of guys who had kind of been through that already, and he didn't have anybody really to feel sorry for him. Well, this year he is kind of helping the young guys, and he knows that now, right? He doesn't need to be the shot creator. We have Bond for that. But we do need him to be the defender and rebounder. We do need him when he's open to be comfortable shooting because he can't be a liability on offense. But we also don't need him complicating the offense by trying to do too many things. So I think just with a level of experience, there comes a comfort in less is more sometimes. And young guys sometimes struggle with that. I think Keller's he's in that area now. He's got enough aggression and enough humility to still do it the way we want him to do it. But there's still a sense in him of like, I can do more. I know you can. And there'll be a time we need him to. It's just not now.
You guys hold McBride to 14 points on 16 shots. Do you think in a weird way, seeing Xavier Johnson go off for 32 kind of help this team understand the importance of every possession on defense?
Yeah, man. This is a hard deal. And I told you guys after that game, man, it's hard to learn through that, right? But there's no other way to really to teach young guys the urgency that you got to play with until they go out there and realize, oh, this is what coach really meant. Like, I know he said it, but until it's a consequence to it, and the consequence is losing, they have enough pride to not want to lose and do it better. They've been more focused. We guarded Williams and Haggerty pretty well last week from Tulsa, and I think we guarded McBride and Thompson today pretty well. You can't stop guys like that from scoring because they're going to get the volume of attempts, but you can try to make them as inefficient as possible, and I think we did that for the most part. Xavier Johnson's a really good player. Obviously, he had his way with us, and I do think our guys learned from that. That you gotta try as much as possible to limit, especially early. The challenge we have with Xavier Johnson is we let him get to the free throw line so frequently early that we didn't really make him earn the baskets. He had 13 free throws in the first half and 12 points on free throws. So now you're off balance. You don't want to play too close to him, and he kind of can manipulate the game because he's so smart.
Eric, he had a double-double today, and we haven't asked a question about him. Has he been able to fit in a way that most freshmen aren't able to? He looks more comfortable out there than most freshmen.
Yeah, obviously we talked about Eric a lot. He's got a level of maturity that's probably slightly above a normal freshman. Doing a post-grad year was probably good for him. USA basketball is probably good for him. He's exposed to a lot of high-level basketball, but he's also very coachable. And he's strong-headed in some ways, but not in the sense of he's not willing to learn. And when you're willing to learn and you have talent, then you got a chance to be really good. It's what we're seeing with Garrison. I mean, he may be one of the most coachable kids, Garrison, that I've ever been around. And Daly's not far behind, but because of those guys' ability to want to learn, to want to be coached, to seek help. I mean, Eric Daly watches probably more film than any player I've ever coached. I mean, he's literally texting me every day, can we watch film? And most days I'm like, dude, I have a job, man. Like, we got 9 other dudes on staff. Go call somebody else. But most of the time I bring him in because if he's willing to put the work in, then it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm there to help him as much as possible.
Is Isaiah one of those guys that you can see hitting multiple threes from deep? It's just always a little jarring to see in the college level a 7-footer kind of hit a 3 off a dribble. I'm wondering how much of
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him shoot enough threes now that I'm not surprised. We haven't really put a package in there. He hadn't played, so we hadn't really put in enough stuff to get him that. But it's a shot I'm very comfortable with him shooting. I've seen him make it several times. He's one of our really good shooters. He is. It's not usual that you say that about a guy who's 7'1" and also you can throw a lob to at the top of the square. So, unique talent. And then I'll say this about Zay. Like, Zay's got a long, long way to go. I mean, he has no idea how good he could be. I mean, he really doesn't. And so I want to be careful that we don't think he's going to save us and take us to another level by himself. But obviously, there's things he can do that no one else on the team really can do. But what he's got to be careful of is not respecting the process, right? Is assuming that he's just going to have it figured out today because he got a tip dunk or a lob dunk and made a 3. Like, he's got a lot of room to grow. He's got to get stronger. He's got to get in better shape, and he's got to continue to work at his game. There's a lot of raw ability there, but we've seen a lot of guys with potential that didn't make it because they didn't respect the process of improvement.
There you go.